When you tear out a man's tongue, you are not proving him a liar. You're only telling the world that you fear what he might have to say. Strange things have been happening on YouTube of late. The search function is wonky, notifications work sometimes, but not others, and trending is hilariously worthless. Algorithms are clearly set to favour mainstream rubbish over high quality independent content. It is obvious that YouTube have long since abandoned the independent creators who spent years building their channels and the website. As if it wasn't bad enough already, they've just issued an update to the community guidelines limiting expression on the so-called platform even further. This policy change came shortly after gay Vox activist Carlos Maza, aka Gay Wonk, had a giant sook after Steven Crowder, a comedian, called him gay in a funny way. After a decade of growth on the back of good independent content, YouTube have decided to change what works in order to push a corporate agenda. It makes you think, why are they doing this? What could YouTube possibly gain out of messing with a system that worked so well for so long? Independent creators built this platform, and now cashed up corporate vultures are circling, demanding a piece of the pie.
Oh, nice! Pie!
Not that kind of pie, you pigs.
You're the fat one.
This can't be good for the platform. People already have access to old corporate media. They choose YouTube as an alternative to get away from that. Sure, some viewers will stay for a time, but many people will get bored quickly and look for content elsewhere. They'll check out Netflix, download a podcast, listen to an audiobook, or spend time on hobbies or whatever. Most of all, people will look to alternative video hosting sites. As stated, people who use YouTube had the choice to watch corporatized, sanitized nonsense. They instead chose to put their viewing time into independent content. That's what made the site, which used to be a neutral platform, cool and fun to begin with. It makes no sense to change this formula. It's like going into a fine dining restaurant to open the menu and find they only serve crappy fast food. What do you think they're doing this, Professor? Well, Matty, Occam's razor states that the simplest explanation is the most likely. So let's start with the most likely possibilities and go from there. Good idea, mate, but I have an even better theory. The Crazy Kamikaze YouTube theory. Ha ha ha. Righto, Matty. Just a quick message. Whether it's an algorithm hiding content or outright deletion, internet censorship is on the rise. Please consider following me on free speech websites Gab, Minds, and BitChute. I'm constantly posting content, and they are a great way to stay notified of uploads. Can't wait to see you there. Mark Zuckerberg recently made world headlines when he called on governments to increase internet regulation. Essentially, he wants them to locate and stamp out opinions and facts that threaten the parasite class. It didn't hurt Facebook's stocks much either. They've lost a bit in the short term, but if you bought them when they first listed, you'd still be doing pretty damn well. Good to know that Facebook investors are happy with the privacy breaches and data scandals plaguing the platform. They also seem very happy with the suppression of dissenting voices. Most people don't like censorship, nor do they like seeing others censored, but Facebook investors must love it. Well, they care most of all about money, and Facebook has made a large profit selling ads over the last few years. Well, yeah, there's that. The truth is, Facebook actually sells people's data. People disclose their personal information and advertisers buy access to it in order to target ads. The problem for the platform is that despite idiot corporations forking shareholder money over, the people are abandoning it, especially young people. Facebook is becoming irrelevant, if it isn't already. The evidence suggests that people are using it less and less, so despite investor faith and a bucket load of corporate ad money, the public is losing interest and a large segment has lost it already.
Investors be all like,
"'Tis but a scratch."
Well, not quite. But who said you could do a cutaway, short bus?
Run away!
If people stop using Facebook, there's no point advertising there. The fact that young people are leaving in droves is big news. It means Facebook's best days are over and it's just not cool anymore. It's now time for a trigger warning. We are about to discuss a deeply disturbing subject, so I want to make sure you're all prepared. Don't do it, Maddie. It's not worth it.
Right, stop being such a girl, Madalena. Do it, Maddie.
Righto, here goes, but I did warn you. We need to discuss one of the greatest cesspits known in the history of man, beating out some of the great cesspits of all time. It truly is a dark place. Well, it's not quite on the level of literal slums where people turd in the street, it's right up there. Although it is located in the literal toilet that is San Francisco. That place is, of course, Twitter. Old Ben Kenobi got it spot on.
You will never find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy. We must be cautious.
It's a place synonymous with hatred. Twitter truly brings out the worst in people. A place that, despite banning peaceful political dissent, still allows some of the worst opinions and comments possible, ranging from the denial of science to the outright abuse and dehumanization of entire groups of people based on their ethnic heritage. The good news is people are switching off, just as they are with Facebook. It seems sending angry text messages to strangers gets old after a while. More good news is that shareholders haven't seen much of a return since the company registered on the stock exchange. Although Twitter did post its first ever profit in 2018, a cool 1.1 billion, it doesn't quite make up for the losses of the previous 4 years, but it is something. Even in shitholes like San Francisco, it's not too bad for the super rich. The truth about both these sites is they are experiencing the same issue: loss of relevance. Interestingly, it hasn't yet their profit margins as corporations continue to pump shareholder money where they think the eyeballs are. They are literally flushing their money down a San Franciscan toilet.
What about YouTube, Eddie? You were supposed to talk about YouTube.
Yes, short bus, we are just getting to it. YouTube started as a place for silly cat videos and other viral nonsense. You go to the site and get caught in the YouTube rabbit hole. 1 minute you're watching a silly cat fall off a ledge, the next minute you're learning about the cat plan to take over the world. It was all so fascinating and entertaining. It didn't take long for people to start posting their honest political opinions, conduct honest analysis of situations, and present facts the old gatekeepers refused to. Independent creators made engaging content that people enjoyed, and as such, the platform, when it was still a platform, grew rapidly. A number of these commentators managed to amount huge audiences and thus incurred the ire of the old corporate media, who quickly scrambled to have them removed. It started with demonetisation, where YouTube would remove a channel's ability to gain ad revenue, and moved on to suppression and outright censorship. Fast forward to today, and YouTube have outright declared themselves on the side of the old globalist corporate media, who are actually YouTube's direct competitor. A blog post updating their policies entitled "Our Ongoing Work to Tackle the Hatred" states it all clearly. They said, "Today, we're taking another step in our hate speech policy by specifically prohibiting videos alleging that a group is superior in order to justify discrimination, segregation, or exclusion based on qualities like age, gender, race, caste, religion, sexual orientation, or veteran status. We will remove content denying that well-documented violent events like the Holla Ho and the Bang Bang at Sandy H took place." The point is to increase the supposed reasons for banning. They are even going to ban questioning the official narrative on certain events because everyone knows that when facts are obvious, the best thing to do is to ban the questions. In other words, they want to ban anyone they like for any reason they like, but they want to hide the fact that this is what they are doing. Don't hold your breath for them to remove content that denies the well-documented, often violent act that is white genocide either. Hell, they are literally promoting the content that calls it a myth. YouTube breaks its own rules, but only in a direction that pushes an anti-white narrative. That's not the end of it either. As mentioned, the mainstream media have been tirelessly lobbying YouTube to weight the scales in their favour. From the same blog post, and I quote, "In addition to removing videos that violate our policies, we also want to reduce the spread of content that comes right up to the line. In January, we piloted an update of our systems in the US to limit recommendations of borderline content and harmful misinformation, such as videos promoting a phony miracle cure for a serious illness or claiming the earth is flat. As we do this, we'll also start raising up more authoritative content in recommendations, building on the changes that we made to news last year." End quote. Here, they flat out admit that they are weighting the algorithms to favour content from certain creators they prefer. This is an undeniably editorial policy and proves that YouTube are in fact a publisher and not a neutral platform. Of course, what they deem quote-unquote borderline content is entirely up to them. Who decided YouTube executives are the authority on what is or isn't true? Again, this is an editorial position and thus makes YouTube a publisher and not a platform. You'll also be delighted to know that they are going to send the bulk of any ad revenue to sources they deem, in their opinion, to be quote-unquote authoritative. The rest of us can suck eggs. From the blog post, and I quote, "Finally, it's critical that our monetization system reward trusted creators who add value to YouTube. We have long-standing advertiser-friendly guidelines that prohibit ads from running on videos that include hateful content, and we enforce these rigorously. And in order to protect our ecosystem of creators, advertisers, and viewers, we tightened our advertising criteria in 2017. In the case of hate speech, we are strengthening enforcement of our existing YouTube partner program policies." End quote. Hear that, everyone? If you don't say the things they want you to say, then you are not allowed to earn money on their website. If this blog post sounds like a great beast with 7 heads and a crown of 10 thorns, speaking satanic blasphemies, you'd be correct.
All hail the mark of the beast!
The idea that interesting and edgy independent content creators aren't adding value to the site is a flat out lie. They are the ones who made YouTube the powerhouse that it is today. The truth is, these mainstream trusted sources are often YouTube's competitors and greatly detract from the true value of the site when promoted. It is clear that they now have an editorial stance against certain creators. They are doing this while rewarding those they support with favoured recommendations and increased ad revenue. They are no longer a neutral platform and haven't been one for years. It actually gets even worse. Along with the updated policy, they provided a number of examples of what they deem hateful. One of these is, quote, "People with attributes noted above are less intelligent than us because their brains are smaller," end quote. It is a proven fact that brain size correlates with intelligence. While it's not a perfect correlation, it is still there. A smaller brain does indeed mean you are likely to have a lower intelligence. YouTube have essentially just made science against their rules. Another example of so-called hatred is this amusing line. Quote, "Group with any of the attributes noted above has an agenda to run the world and get rid of us." How long until globalists become a protected category? It is only a matter of time until they make it against the rules to call out the deliberate and well-known plan to replace European peoples in our own homelands. It's all so insidious, but why do you think they are doing this?
I know. It's because they are all dirty
Short bus. Like you said earlier, Professor, the simplest explanation is most likely. That is, multinational corporations relentlessly attack and slander YouTube, putting them under pressure to ramp up censorship and weight the scales in their favour. They lobby the site to remove and demote their competition because they can't win in a fair fight. YouTube, being part of the same multinational clique, then feel no need to stand up for the little guy and easily cave because, let's face it, it also suits their globalist agenda. Twitter probably have the same dynamic, only you can include pressure from angry blue checkmark feminists and their virgin hangers-on to the army of complainers. As for Facebook, reports are they have governments pressuring them to remove certain voices. Plus, it's likely Zuckerberg himself seems to enjoy censoring. He is a machine after all. They have to get their kicks somehow. A machine or a reptile. As with most things of this nature, it most likely boils down to power and money. But there's more to it than that. Something else also infects these places. That is, the far left woke ideology that pushes political correctness and other anti-nature globalist lies. It's the same nonsense you get in every single HR department that has ever existed. The repeated use of the made-up leftist term hate speech is just code for speech those in charge hate. These big tech companies are utterly infested with college-educated SJWs and other acolytes of this insidious ideology. It's an ideology as old as civilization itself, and it's grown to dominate us today. It is lies and sophistry pushed for malevolent self-gain. You could call it Marxism if you wanted to, but Satanism is far more accurate. These corporations are under the power of the beast. They sold their eternal souls for a cool sports car. Now the devil wants his dues. That means ultimately these companies are doomed to fail. Facebook has zero brand loyalty, Twitter is a cesspit, and YouTube just slapped the vast majority of its creators and viewers right in the proverbial balls.
But wait, isn't the title of this video Kamikaze YouTube? What clickbait are you trying at, Betty?
Yes, I'm getting to it. There is another slightly more crazy theory that I think is also fairly likely. Do tell us, Matty. Yeah, I want to hear it. Alright, but strap yourselves in. Over the last few years, across the world, we've seen a growing nationalist populist movement. It's almost unstoppable and isn't going to stop growing in the near future, despite widespread internet censorship. In fact, it probably won't stop growing until the entire paradigm has shifted and the old establishment are no longer in charge. The old parasites can see what's happening. The fat lady hasn't yet sung, but she has had her last donut and is making her way to the stage. Their time is running out. They are getting desperate. From their point of view, they need to do something, anything, to stop the inevitable. They actually have no idea why all this is happening, because they don't realise they are ultimately in a spiritual war. At least the foot soldiers don't realise it. And they don't realise that they are on the side of the devil. So they turn their attention to the internet. Social media used to be a place for globalists to spread their lies and make their money. But their opponents caught on and started countering lies with truth. Worse for the globalists, their opponents were highly effective. Starting to panic, they knew they couldn't possibly win the argument fair and square, so instead they decided to censor their opponents in any way they could. They used the only strategy they had left, to destroy themselves and thus silence the truth for good. Well, at least for a little while. Sure, they'd lose billions of dollars, but at least they slow down the Great Awakening. Deep down, these Satan worshippers know it's a futile effort. There is nothing they can do to stop this movement because it's powered by natural laws written into the universe upon creation. But these fools tell themselves it's their last and only hope as they enter the cockpit for their very last mission. Tech giants are going kamikaze mode on truth because they have lost, and this is their last hope. Change my mind, people. Change my mind. I find no flaw in your argument at all, Matty. It is most certainly highly plausible. Whatever the reason for this idiotic change, it is probably the end of YouTube. We had a good run, but now it's over. The parasite establishment can't win the argument, so they have to cheat. They will still lose in the end, but we now need to work even harder to get our message out. Finally, I'm going to ask everyone again to please follow me over on BitChute, Minds and Gab, all linked in the description below. YouTube have shadow banned my channel with this algorithm change. Views are down over 50% and there is no longer any growth. The channel exists, but unless you know about it already, you are highly unlikely to find any of my content. Independent creators built this site on the assumption that it was a neutral public forum, and this is no longer the case. Absent regulations forcing them to remain unbiased and neutral, YouTube will probably go MySpace mode and make itself irrelevant. It's more important than ever that all creators put their content up on genuine free speech supporting platforms and encourage everyone to watch there instead. The sooner the audience leaves and we are no longer dependent on YouTube, the better. They have shown zero respect for their creators, and we need to return the favour. I hope you enjoyed the video. Share the truth around, and I'll see ya when I see ya.
What a nuts theory!
Yeah, well, it's either kamikaze suicide or outright stupidity.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe they really are that dumb.